Premier is here. Premier Heating and Air is offering rebates starting at $1,000 with the purchase of a new heating and air system. Upgrade your system before the summer heat is here. Premier Heating and Air offering free Wi-Fi thermostats included with the purchase of a heating and air system. And now pay just $89 for a system checkup. Experience the Premier difference today. Or log on to dublin.premierishere.com. Premier Heating and Air, a locally owned and operated company.
Welcome to the show. I got my great friend Spence Mullis with me today. Spence, welcome to the show. Hey, we're doing some different conversations and shows about banking and local banking, and we are certainly going to spend some time today talking about Morris Bank and all the great work that you guys do here in the community. But Spence, just in case there's somebody watching the show and maybe, I can't imagine, but maybe they say, I don't know who that guy is that he's talking to. Tell me a little bit about yourself, your background, a little bit about your family, and then lead that into what got you started in banking.
Yeah, that's a great question. So I'm originally from Dublin. I graduated from West Lawrence, went down to Georgia Southern, majored in accounting, and came back and actually worked right next door over here at Nichols Cawley. So I was in the public accounting world for quite a while, and I was doing bank audits and things like that. Ultimately, I always knew I wanted to get into banking. So I left Nichols Cawley and actually went to work with the state of Georgia as a bank examiner. So, I'd audited a lot of banks at Nichols Cawley. Then I kind of started examining banks as an examiner with the state of Georgia. And I came into Morris Bank probably 23, 25 years ago. And I was in there doing the audit doing the exam. And while I was in there, the CEO and the chairman of the board sat me down and said, hey, you're in here writing all this stuff up. Why don't you just come to work for us and fix it? And, I was a young guy at the time, and I had young children. I was traveling a lot. And so it was just a great opportunity to settle in. And so I settled in, and we had about 30 employees back then. And, we've had a really good run ever since. So that's kind of the bank side of it. Very proud of my family. My wife, Brandy, she used to be editor of the paper here many years ago, and she kind of took the most important job, which was, raising our children at home, and our children are grown now. My son, he actually is a CPA over at Nichols Cawley now, and my daughter, she's a senior down at Georgia Southern, so just real proud of those folks, and just really love this community, the whole family. We really love it.
Fantastic. Glad to hear you've got one back here in Dublin. Hopefully the other one will come back when school is over as well, because that's important. And we're gonna talk about that just a little bit in a few minutes. But Spence, you guys have also grown. I know locally right here in Dublin, you've grown tremendously, but even outside of Dublin. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so, I guess let's go back to like 2005. In 2005, there were about 360 state chartered banks in the state of Georgia. Now there's about 145. So we've really lost a lot of banks over the years. At the end of 2004, right around the beginning of 2005, we were about $110 million in total assets. Today, we're about about 1.55 billion. So, the state lost a ton of banks during this time period, and it was just due to natural consolidation. Of course, we lost a lot during the great financial crisis, but we were able to take advantage of that, and we've really grown through that time period. The cool thing about it is, yes, we are one of the larger banks in the state, but we're headquartered right here in Dublin. So what that means for Dublin and Lawrence County is we employ a lot of people, right? So right now we have about 200 folks that work for Morris Bank proper. About 100 of those are right here in Dublin and Lawrence County. So as the bank has grown into other markets, we continue to grow jobs here locally. But it's a great place to have a bank headquartered. We got great talent. People are very loyal. They're dedicated. We put something in, interestingly, several years ago, which was our ESOP. So actually the largest shareholder base of Morris Bank now is its employees. And so what that does, of course, is it really increases the dedication. And we just want to take care of customers, right? Because we're the largest owners of the bank now. we definitely want to take care of the customers and communities. But yeah, we're over in Gray, we're over in Perry. We bought a bank down in Statesboro. We don't really have our eye on any kind of metro areas. We kind of like towns like Dublin, loaning money on collateral, we understand, and just offering basic community services.
So two places I kind of want to go from there, but while you're on this topic of employees and the number of employees, as the CEO at the bank, Spence, today, what's important to you, or what are you looking for in attracting and retaining talent to work at Morris Bank? What are the key factors for you?
So it's a great question. So kind of the blueprint of Morris Bank that really drives us is what we affectionately call Code Blue. That's kind of our value, so to speak. And a huge portion of that is attitude and hustle, okay? We always talk about that. If you've got the right attitude and you hustle, or you got what we call the hustle bone, you're going to be a good employee for us. We can teach you the technical stuff, but we look for folks with great attitudes and the folks that like to get after it every day. And so that's kind of what we look for when we're interviewing people. And people that have those attributes, they like working with us because everybody else that works with us has those same attributes, and it's just fun. We have a good time every day.
Yeah, I like that. So along with that and having the right people in the right places, I know another thing really important at Morris Bank is community. Talk to me about the different ways that you guys invest and continue to give back in your communities where you have your locations.
Yeah, so that's really what the definition of a community bank is, right? You want to serve the community. Absolutely, you got to make money. That's part of it, but you got to give a lot of money back. And so that's kind of what we take on as a serious obligation, is giving money back into the communities. Several years ago, we started the Morris Bank Community Foundation, and we've given away hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars to different programs, different organizations throughout our bank's footprint. But specifically here in Dublin, you will see that every year you'll see the 12 days of Christmas, and we give $2,000 a day out to different organizations. We just really want to continue to the Lord has blessed us. I mean, just quite honestly, the Lord has blessed us. We make good profits, but giving those back is what's important, and so we're going to give those to folks that apply for those funds. But then, of course, we do the day-to-day things outside of the foundation as well. I mean, we're supporting the regular, the high school organizations, the cheerleaders, the chamber, everything that we can. But we feel like that's just kind of what's incumbent upon us as a community bank, is to give back.
Yeah, and you guys do a great job, like you said, whether it's the ball field and a sign hanging on a fence, a foundation gift. And I want to say personally to you even, and you may remember this conversation, I share this with people all over town, but when I first came to Dublin, you were one of the first people that I met with, and I sat in your office and we had a conversation about the chamber, and you kind of let me know, well, maybe we were not doing some things that we could be doing or should be doing, and I took that to heart and agreed and said, well, I think we can do these things, and you and I talked about some things, but you offered to me, if we would do these things that we were talking about, that you would offer financial support to the chamber. And I tell people this all the time, you've been a man of your word, and the bank has always been there with us and for us when we come to Morris Bank and ask, hey, can you help us with this? Can you help us with this? We know we can count our friends at Morris Bank, so we appreciate that.
Well, you're certainly welcome, but I want to thank you because you did exactly what you said you were going to do. You took a really good chamber that we already had, but you took it to another level. And I mean, you're a Morris Bank Code Blue guy just sitting there. I mean, you've got the hustle and you got the right attitude, and you've done that with the chamber, and you've really moved the needle, right? I mean, the chambers go up and they go down, but it seems like since you've been in town, we've been on an upward trajectory. And just being very frank with you, I mean, I appreciate your working relationship with the Development Authority too, because I don't know that relationship had always been the best in the past. You came in and, they work hand in hand, and just the initiative you've done with the Chamber Foundation and really trying to address the needs of the community as it relates to workforce and things like that. I just want you to know I really appreciate that.
Well, thank you. But we got to talk about Morris Bank and all the good work that you guys are doing. We got a lot more great things to talk about. We're going to take a really quick commercial break, and we'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Tom Dominy. Here at Dublin Wind Nelson, we pride ourselves on providing the industry's highest quality products at the most competitive pricing. We are a full-service wholesaler specializing in plumbing, irrigation, and industrial products. With a staff that collectively offers more than 50 years of expertise, our team knows your industry, and we can answer your questions and help you get the parts and equipment you need. From mowing to Renee, we carry the plumbing, irrigation, and industrial products you need from the brands you trust. We also carry a great lineup of Milwaukee tools. At Dublin Wind Nelson, our goal is the long-term success of your business. We achieve that goal with a simple commitment, doing things right, one customer at a time. If you have a question, or if you're looking for a hard-to-find part, give us a call. Our experts are ready to help. Order online, give us a call, or come by at 507 Airport Road in Dublin. We're committed to building long-term relationships with our customers by earning your business every day.
The Houston Clinic is located in the heart of Dublin, in close proximity to Fairview Park Hospital. Dr. Gay and Dr. Richter utilize state-of-the-art equipment and the most up-to-date treatment available today. The Houston Clinic conveniently offers on-site physical therapy. We're open Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. So call for an appointment today at 478-353-1166. Dr. Gay and Dr. Richter look forward to serving you at the Houston Clinic of Dublin, 100 Medical Drive, Suite 400. The Houston Clinic, providing state-of-the-art care closer to home.
Welcome back to the show, and again, Spence, thank you for taking time out today to meet with us. So this is a question that I've really been looking forward to asking you.
Oh, wow.
Haven't had the opportunity to sit down with you in just a little bit and talk about banking and your perspective on banking. So as the CEO at Morris Bank, if there is something, I'm sure there is, what is that one thing that keeps you up at night relative to banking?
I would say cybersecurity. You know, it is something that all banks, not just Morris, we all spend a ton of money to try to safeguard our customers' assets. And every day there are ne'er-do-wells out there trying to beat the system, trying to figure out a new fraud scheme to try to trick folks, you know, or try to trick systems. And that's the one thing that I'm probably more worried about, and I think that's going to be every bank CEO, from the big banks down to community banks like ours. You know, having kind of banked through the great financial crisis, it used to be the actual economy and asset quality and things like that. With all the new regulations that have been put into place since then, I feel by and large most banks have good solid capital positions and they're in good healthy shape. But it's a grind. It's every day. I mean, you know, we try to stay one step ahead of the fraudsters, but I mean, I've got so many people dedicated right here in Dublin just every day. That's what they focus on because, unfortunately, with technology, it just opens up so many different avenues for the fraudsters to try to meander through. But that's my biggest concern, but it shouldn't be our customers because that's what we're worried about. We're here to protect their assets, and we just ask them to be vigilant, you know, keep passwords confidential. Know that banks are never going to ask you what your password is, you know, and that unfortunately happens to some of our older clientele sometimes, and you know, they think they're getting a call from the bank security officer, and you know, once you give that online banking password out, they've got everything. And so I think just cyber fraud in general is a big concern.
Yeah, and it is a shame that all the folks that you have to employ to keep people from doing bad things, you know, if all of that time and investment could be into adding and growing and building services, but unfortunately that is a necessary evil that we face today. Along those lines, Spence, how do you see technology today in changing how banking has traditionally been done? What's different that you see the most? And then even maybe look 3, 4, 5 years into the future, do you see that trend continuing with all the AI and different things. Where do you see that going?
Yeah, so over my career, I mean, it has changed a great deal. Banks used to be really branch centric. You'd go into the branch and that's where you would transact most of your business. But over the years, of course, that's kind of evolved into now, you've got the bank right there on your phone, right? And so when we look at the number of transactions that are done every day through our bank, which is thousands and thousands every day, in the old days, maybe 60% of those transactions would somehow or another flow through a physical bank branch. Now about 8% of those do. So most all transactions that people are doing every day in the banking world, whether it's checking their balances online, whether it's making a mobile deposit with their phone, or paying their employees through an ACH service, it's all technology now. So folks don't come to the physical branches like they used to. Now, having said that, when somebody wants to talk about a mortgage loan or a small business loan, or how can I manage my cash flow better as a small business owner, they want to talk to somebody. So while we have all this great technology, they still want to be able to pick up the phone and talk to their banker and say, hey, I've got some questions, can you help me out with this? And that's where old guys like me, we just enjoy that. We like getting back to the basics, sitting across the desk from somebody and really trying to be their advisor. And but man, technology has changed a ton. But it's changed for the better too, right? The transactions are quicker. Mm-hmm. There's a lot more self-service. In the old days, you would call the bank and you would go through a touch phone or a button touch tone thing with the call center or with the service and say, okay, what's my balance, or has this check cleared? Now you just pull up your app on your phone and it's instantaneous. So technology has really helped us. We've become a little more efficient, but all the folks that we might not employ due to the technology, that we didn't have in the old days, we're now actually employing those same folks through the technology that we need to kind of fight the cyber fight. So,
do you see more today? And this is just a question that just came to my mind. So I still like to go inside when I come to the bank. When I come see you guys or any of the other banks, we do business with most of the banks in the community, right, in some way, shape, or form. I like to come inside. I like to talk to the tellers. I like to see the management or the leadership and see how people are going or how they're doing. Do you see a trend? Do you notice, are there more maybe older people? If I say older, I don't know what older changes as you have birthdays. Yeah. But do you notice, do you think, do less younger people come in the bank and use the technology, or how does that look?
Again, I think, to answer your question, I would say the number of branch visitors are probably a little older than on average. But when you really need to talk to somebody about something, wanting to know what's the best course of action you can take from a financial standpoint, you actually want to sit down and look somebody eye to eye and talk to them. So while it's easy to say, well, young people don't come in the bank anymore because they do everything on their phone, at the end of the day, those young folks, they're eventually going to want to buy a house. They're going to want to possibly buy a business. And, when that happens, they want to sit face to face with somebody just like you and I used to want to do, because it's important, because it's a big deal. And so we probably don't see quite as many young folks in the bank, but when they need something, they're in there talking to us.
Fantastic. And so younger or older, small business, industry, talk to me about Morris Bank and your role in a new business owner, a small business owner, or an industry coming. What are you guys looking at? How are you guys helping? What does that look like from your perspective?
Yeah, so first off, we just want to know what are their goals? What do they want to accomplish, right? And so we've all got a lot of experience. We've got a ton of bankers with a lot of experience. So we've seen businesses go well. We've seen businesses not go so well. So we're sharing information within the bank every day. So when a customer comes in and says, hey, I'm looking to start this business, right? We will have prepared for that visit before they've gotten in, and we would have thought about, okay, what are we going to need? What are we going to need to look at to kind of help guide them? And, a lot of that's going to be, hey, what's your business plan look like? What are you estimating you can do in gross revenues in any given week? And what's your cash flow needs going to be, right? Because when you start a new business, it takes a lot of money, but then you've also got to have operating lines to kind of to get you going, to make those first payrolls and everything before your receivables start coming in. So you really want to kind of know how prepared someone is for that, because it's a daunting task to start a new small business. I mean, and the success of small business, those percentages, they're not great. But if you have a good community banker, and I want to say that we have very solid community banks throughout Lawrence County. I mean, we joke about it. We're one of the most over community banked communities in the state of Georgia. But I think what that tells you is there have never been any to fail. They're all solid. Mm-hmm. They've all got good people, and they want the customer to come in and seek that advice, because it's not easy. But when you want to start that new business, we're going to be able to ask you the questions, prod your mind to kind of get you to thinking about, well, wait a minute, I had never thought about that. And that's our role. We want to be the advisor to help you be successful.
So you're not just trying to get a loan. You need this business to stay there. You need them to be in here for the long term, and that's going to help our entire community. Spence, you mentioned something else, your folks being knowledgeable and ready to help and teach and coach and train. Talk to me about investing in your employees and their continual training.
Yeah, so that's something we always talk about. Their first day, I meet with every new employee on their first day, and we go through Code Blue, and we talk about kind of what has guided the bank over the years. And in that talk, I always talk about how we want to spend money on training, right? You're going to come in, you're going to learn from people in different departments and everything, but if there's something you don't understand, raise your hand. We are going to pay for you to go to, whether it's the Georgia Banking School or attend some seminars, wherever. If you want to learn more about banking, we are going to spend the money. And again, we need folks with great attitudes in the hustle bone, but we also want sponges. We want people that want to soak up all that knowledge. I always tell people, the day you feel like you're God's gift to banking is the day you need to go home, sit on your front porch, sit in your rocking chair, and just think about how great you are. Because life's over at that point,
That's right?
You've got to continually learn if you're ever going to get better. So.
Absolutely. I would tell you that I tell my board here, if I ever feel like, I'm not excited about coming to work today, it's time to find another job.
Amen.
Your folks are the same here. We talk about sometimes there's a difference in people who have to go to work and people who get to go to work.
Amen.
And if you get to go to work, it's going to show, hopefully, in your efforts and in your results. So,
Amen.
Hey, we're going to take one more commercial break, and we're going to come back and we'll wrap things up.
Mid-State Pools and Spas is Middle Georgia's most trusted pool builder. Whether it's in-ground or above, you can count on Mid-State Pools and Spas for all your pool needs, including outdoor furniture. From pool chairs to patio furniture, Mid-State Pools and Spas carries Telescope and Polly's Island. So call or come in today to Mid-State Pools and Spas. Now open Monday through Friday 9 to 5 and Saturday 9 to 1.
If you measure your lawn by the acre, mow it with the #1 selling diesel zero-turn mower series for more than 5 years. With comfort, with durability, with the Kubota ZD. ACS deck technology for improved cutting performance, responsive and durable shaft drive transmissions, hands-free hydraulic deck lift, and all-day comfort. No matter how you measure your lawn, the Kubota ZD delivers. Visit your local Kubota dealer today.
Products you can count on, a name you can trust. That's Mid-State Tractor and Equipment.
Welcome back to the show. Having a great conversation with my good friend Spence Mullis here at Morris Bank. Spence, thank you for your time again today. Something probably near and dear to a lot of folks today, and especially folks considering investing, whether it's opening a business, buying a car, buying a house, interest rates.
Yeah.
And some folks, I told somebody the other day, we were talking about interest rates, and they were saying, this was the all-time high and this was the all-time low, and somebody said, well, we're probably near an all-time high, and I said, oh, we're not even close.
No.
Talk to me a little bit about that from the banking perspective today.
I appreciate this question because it comes up all the time. After the great financial crisis, the government had to do a lot of things, and the economy was not doing well, so interest rates were lowered across the board, and we got spoiled. We folks were taking out 30-year mortgages with 2 and 3 handles on them, and now the 30-year mortgage is probably around 6.5% to 7%. Unfortunately, what that has caused is a lot of people who haven't kind of borrowed money extensively throughout the years, they go, oh my gosh, this is just an extremely high rate. But the the data points to, since 1970, the average 30-year mortgage is actually just a hair over 8%. So since 1970, you know, we're talking over 50 years, the average borrower has paid over 8% on a 30-year mortgage, and they've been able to make it, right? So what I would suggest is folks not just be so focused on 6.5% to 7% being high compared to 2 and 3%. Think about it on a historical context. It's really not that high. I remember when I graduated from Georgia Southern, I actually bought a house right back here on Stonewall Street, and my wife and I, our first interest rate was 9.5%, and we were happy to get it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I think just kind of understanding that we're not going back to 2 to 3%. We don't ever want to go back to 2 to 3%, because if we do, that means something terrible has happened in the economy. So, you know, and I think business owners have gotten their heads around that recently, and I think, you know, mortgage borrowers are starting to get there and understand, well, hey, you know, it's not 2 or 3, but it's absolutely doable. So, yeah, that's a good question. It's one we get every day.
Yeah, it's funny. It was almost eerie what you were saying as the exact statistics I looked up the other day, because I was having this conversation with someone, and I didn't realize at one point like 18, 19%.
Yeah.
I mean, so yeah, be thankful for 7%.
Absolutely.
If where we are. Spence, got one more question on my mind I'd like to ask you. I'm going to our Chamber Institute, and I get a chance to mentor and coach and talk to a lot of folks. I've been doing this almost 20 years. You've been over 20 years in banking. If a younger person maybe that wants to grow in banking, they're looking at being a CEO one day, and they say, man, I need a lesson learned from a CEO at the bank. What's your lesson learned as a CEO at the bank?
You know, I guess probably the best lesson is to wake up every morning as an optimist, okay? But also balance that with some realism when it comes to what can happen in the world that's beyond your control. But if you don't wake up every day as an optimist, you really are starting behind the 8 ball, because, you know, the optimists are the ones that are out there that are actually making transactions happen. And that's not just in banking, that's any business, right? It's funny, I get asked this question a lot. I used to be a bank examiner, okay? And folks say, what's the biggest difference between being a bank examiner and an actual banker? And I said, well, as a bank examiner, every morning that I woke up to go into a bank to check on that bank, see how they were doing, I wore kind of a pessimist hat, right? I thought about every single reason that lender should not have made this loan, okay? Because that's just how we were taught as examiners. Now, every day when I wake up as a banker, I'm wearing that optimist hat. I'm looking for every way to make a loan. So you gotta wake up, you gotta be optimistic, and you've gotta be willing to accept different ideas and never just be married to your way is the only way. You've gotta seek advice from other folks if you're gonna make things happen.
I love that. That's awesome. So fantastic. So we're about to run out of time, and I was thinking, you know, something I probably should have started with, but you guys, man, you got a legacy of folks at Morris Bank that have been in this community, started the bank, have been in banking for years, and talk to me just a little bit about that legacy at Morris Bank.
I tell you, we are. I mean, I get chills talking about it, because I mean, we're very fortunate. You know this, but you know the chamber office here is the old George Morris house. George Morris started Morris Bank here in Dublin in 1954. Louis Livingston, who was chairman of the board when I went to work for the bank, he made the first deposit in 1954 in the bank. And, you know, they just wanted a very solid community bank that could not only help small business owners, but help all residents as it relates to mortgage loans, auto loans, and what have you. I've been really spoiled. You know, I got to know Louis very well before he passed away, and you would never meet a finer man. He was just one of the best human beings possible. Very dedicated to the chamber, very dedicated to the development authority. He just wanted Lawrence County to be successful. Very fortunate to have his daughter, Lisa Livingston, still on our board of directors. We actually have Louis' granddaughter, Catherine Wilcox, who works in or heads up our loan operations department. So, yeah, man, it's again, we've grown a lot, but we are going to stay true to what Louis Livingston and George Morris and those guys wanted to set out to accomplish. And I think we've made them proud, and I hope we'll continue to do that.
Amen. It's a blessing to have you guys here in the community. Spence, I always like to close, want to give you an opportunity to look into the camera, and I'm going to throw a little different twist today, but maybe if somebody's looking for employment, they're looking for a career, and or if they're looking for somewhere just to set up a savings or checking account or to get a loan, tell them why they need to come see the folks at Morris Bank.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Heath. So anything we can do to help anybody. We're looking for folks that want to hustle and that have great attitudes. So if that's something that you have and that you want to do every day when you wake up, please come see us. We've got all kind of different positions available to you. And anybody that wants any kind of banking service, from a $500 loan to a $5 million loan, we've got folks that specialize in all. We want to be the advisor. We want to hold your hand through the process. And, we don't want to just, finish our relationship after the transaction. We want to be your advisor throughout your life. So anything we can do for you, any way we can help you, your family, or your business, just come see us, and we're going to take care of you.
Appreciate you, Spence.
Thank you. Appreciate the time.
And we thank you for joining us, helping us make today and every day a great day for business in Dublin, Lawrence County.